2025, and the call of the big land is back. 5,000 kilometers, a journey of a lifetime, on one of the world's loneliest roads. 5 motorcycles with a common goal: complete the holy grail of motorcycle adventures spanning 5 Canadian provinces. To conquer the Freedom Highway. Well, Day 7 started with a beautiful sunny day in Port Hope Simpson. Not much riding today. I'm going to do a day trip to Battle Harbour. We've got to make our way from Port Hope Simpson down to Mary's Harbour. In Mary's Harbour, we leave from Battle Harbour day trips on Captain Jim's fishing boat, and he'll take us through the fjords to here in Battle Harbour. What is Battle Harbour? Well, Battle Harbour is the unofficial capital of Labrador. It is one of the main reasons that the Trans Labrador Highway was built in the first place. Known internationally and around the world as one of the world's greatest preservations. So this is the Lodge Bay Road. So we're just heading into Mary's Harbour here now to catch our boat out to Battle Harbour. So the whole little town, we were here last night just for a quick pit stop, but the whole town, it's unpaved, which is really neat. It's really it's like a step back in time. And stepping back in time is the theme today. Way back in time. Up until the collapse of the industry in 1992, the history of coastal Newfoundland and Labrador was the cod industry. Stories told from John Cabot way back in 1497 that he brought back to Europe tales of codfish so large and abundant that it slowed the progress of his ships. Then starting in 1775, Englishman John Slade established what is known as the fishing premises on Battle Island. From that point on, business boomed until the closure of the fishery due to the cod moratorium in 1992. So join me as we visit Battle Harbour, Labrador's must-see destination. When Captain Jim came out of the house, I asked him, "Is it okay if I park my bike here by the woodpile?" And he looked at me sort of funny and said, "As long as you don't mind me selling it." Looked at me as serious as could be. And then a big grin came across his face and he says, "No, they'll be fine. They'll be here for you when you get back." I knew Captain Jim was going to be a character. What a beautiful day. As we pulled away from the harbour, Captain Jim started passing out homemade scones that his wife had made. I think he said that they were made out of sourdough, and she kept making them over and over and over again from the same batch. I'm not sure how that works, but I can tell you this. They were some of the best tasting scones I've ever had in my life. That and a hot cup of coffee to rinse it down. Life couldn't be better. The minute you step off the boat onto Battle Harbour, your heart beats just a little more peacefully. You feel it the second you get there. Your life literally slows down. Fire was a major concern at Battle Harbour, So they had their own fire department here. That is a pump that they would use to shoot water to put out a fire. Up at the top of the hill, that's what's called a Labrador woodpile. They stacked it that way because it wouldn't dry any other way. In the old post office, there you can pick the package that you'd like to have, meals or guided tours and things like that. I decided to do the whole thing, the meal, the guided tour, and the lady was there. She had a sheet and she would mark down where everything was for you. While you're waiting for your meal and the guided tour, you can go exploring on your own. I can see why they picked this spot for the harbour. There is shelter in this fjord from the elements. So this is the main Battle Harbour wharf. You know, it's very hard for me to describe it properly and give it justice. It's like instant time travel. You're sure that you're in a dream. Also on the wharf is the dining hall, where they serve period food from a bygone era. Completely homemade, our meal was Battle Harbour chicken pot pie, homemade rolls, your pick of homemade squares, and apple cobbler. The last of their type still standing are these two Marconi towers. They were erected in 1904. These were a very important communication tool for Labrador for many, many years. Newfoundland Rangers were stationed here in 1935. They performed all sorts of governmental tasks, including pulling teeth from time to time. And St. James Anglican Church was built in 1852. We didn't have a lot of time before the guided tours start, so I picked the Anglican Church and the Ranger Station to go and have a look at before it all started. When restoration began in Battle Harbour, this church was the first building that they restored. They did an amazing job of it. At the Ranger Station, the Rangers' daily duty is on display here. Basically, they were there to help the community out in whatever way they can. If you got sick or you had to leave in the middle of the winter, a ranger would have to take you out by dog team. These were big, strapping, strong men. Meet Cyril Lunan. He is our tour guide for the day.
See, I'm a fifth-generation Battle Harbour person. My ancestors came over, of course, fishing. And they stayed here, and I've been here every summer. Never missed a summer so far. This
is the oldest building in Battle Harbour, built 240 years ago in 1775. It was the storehouse for salt fish, pork, molasses, and wheat. Amazing. Rough hand-hewn beams still intact 240 years later. On the downstairs portion of the building, they stored molasses, mostly because it was so heavy and it was a lot easier to leave downstairs. When you came to Battle Harbour for supplies, you didn't pay for anything. It was marked onto a ledger, and at the end of the season, when you brought in your fish, everything was deducted from your fish, and if you were lucky, you broke even. If not, you came back next year and hopefully settled up your debt. This building was a filleting building, and this was a typical filleting table. All the processing, the salting, and weighing was all done in here. Whale vertebrae stools were not uncommon in Battle Harbour. And this was the hardware store. All of your building supplies was here. Nails, what have you. And this red dust, that was red ochre. Red ochre made the famous red paint that you see everywhere in Labrador. It was made by mixing it with seal oil. Block and tackle stores for lift advantage for heavy lifting. They had a nice display of vintage dories. These were used for hand lining, no nets. So you caught one fish at a time. This guy here was called a one-lunger. It was motorized and had an engine that would go forwards or reverse depending which way you spun the flywheel. This contraption here, that's for making seal oil out of blubber, and what's right behind it is the net that they use to catch them. These life-size photographs of the men who worked in around Battle Harbour was taken over a century ago. Just about all the salt in northeast Labrador was stored here at the salt stores. At any time in Battle Harbour, there was 1.4 million pounds of salt stored here, pushed up a ramp and loaded by hand from the schooners with these carts. This is Robert Peary. He was an American explorer and U.S. Navy officer who was credited with reaching the North Pole in 1909. Battle Harbour played a crucial role in this historic event, as it was here in the salt stores where Peary held his press conference, using the Marconi Towers to transmit his findings to the New York Times and to the world via the wireless transmitter that was at Indian Harbour in Labrador. This building is like instant time travel. When you enter it, it's not a replication, because when you walk in, you can smell the salt that was stored here for over 100 years. Here's where the merchants dried their fish. It's called the flake. I'll let Cyril describe it.
It's called a flake. This is where the fishermen that worked for the merchant tried to dry the catfish. Like I said, tried to dry the catfish. Now this was the merchant flake. This is a very small portion we build back to what this flake looked like. This flake here covered that whole field, right on down around here. Took you 3 or 4 good windy sunny days. Now there's no trouble to get 4 windy days, but the sunny part was the problem. So someone had to be ashore watching the fish all the time. So most of the fish dried by the independent fishermen here at cruise were dried by the women and children. They stayed ashore and watched the fish while the men went out fishing.
I asked Cyril, why don't the seagulls eat all the fish when no one's looking? And he told me it's because there's so much salt on it that the gulls don't like to eat it and they won't touch it. Now, I've never seen a sea urchin before, but there's literally thousands of them down there. If you look closely, you can see them.
'Cause you're lost in time.
That, I must say, was one of the most successful days I've had yet. That was fun. That was awesome. That is the coolest spot ever. The amount of history that's out there at Battle Harbour, that's recommended highly that people go out there. If you ever come into this area, go and do it. It's worth it. It's not cheap, 100% worth it. So yeah, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. Every so often, life will grant you the chance to walk in your grandfather's shoes. Never let that opportunity pass you by. Those moments will define your life forever. This is the coolest thing. This whole little town of Port Hope Simpson, it's all dirt roads. It's all dirt roads. It's been quite an adventurous day. Been great fun. Saw a lot of neat stuff. Battle Harbour is amazing.
'Cause you're lost in time.
You see him?
Yeah.